What is going on, guys? Welcome back so soon. I mean, I'll just say it, 3 uploads in less than 24 hours. A month ago, we were leaving YouTube. Only made 7 videos in the 10 or so days she was in Canada. I mean, this is what panic looks like. And it makes no sense. YouTube tells us, Chantal, they tell us not to put videos after videos after videos after a live stream because you've now put your pie eating where you talk about the challenge that you're going to do so far below the day in the life. And then this video, it's never going to get to the views you expect it to. In 3 hours, you couldn't get 2,000 views. And a large part of the reason why is because you continue to stack videos irrationally. And Chantal, as a creator, I'm speaking to you from experience. This should terrify you. You are now the one taking views away from yourself. You are now the one setting unrealistic expectations for not only yourself as a person, but yourself as a creator. Listen, 2 videos a day is not easy. More if you're going to offset it with a live stream. I literally let this video go. So I could have put it up early, could have made it sooner. But I said, you know what? I put effort into the last video. Why would I stunt its ability to generate views and in turn generate income by letting people just watch it for, say, 80 minutes? I mean, that would be silly. It would be short-sighted. It'd be a waste of my time. In turn, it would become very frustrating for me as a creator to put in all this effort and not see what I expect in return in views and in monetization. And isn't that Chantal's largest talking point, is that reactors take all her views, take all her money, and now here she is very much panicking and doing it herself. And of course, we get to the power shot, her with the fried chicken, day one of getting her life back in order. And by our own admission, we don't need to count calories. We're simply trying to not overwhelm ourselves. I wonder if Chantal ever thinks about how much she's overwhelmed her body by eating this way. And we also know this meal features not 1, not 2, but 3 different sides. And of course, one of them has to be used exclusively as a dip. Everything is too good. She loves everything. And of course, this all falls back on being on the treadmill today and how she's, quote, feeling it after a 30-minute walk. Chantal, if you walking 1,600 feet has you hurting, the reward should not be fried chicken. And you can sit there and call it broasted to feel better, but it's absurd to most people. I mean, let's stop to consider the reality of your last 14 days, just what you filmed. KFC, or I guess you would call it now KBC, Kuwait broasted chicken, 4 times. Other takeout 3 times. Burger King on top of all of that. You're never going to walk on the treadmill enough to get yourself away from these awful food choices. And of course, she transitions out of this the only way she knows how. What have you been watching on TV? Because her and Sala, they've been watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, we time warp back to when she was a child, introduced to horror films. I mean, this is a time when she admits she was 7 years old. This is a 33-plus-year-old story about her, I guess, trying to get on Sala's good side, going to the bathroom, seeing this Freddy Krueger poster. And she remembers distinctly the feeling that it gave her and how this ultimately created her interest in horror movies. It transitions into how her mother wouldn't allow her to watch them as a kid, but she had a babysitter that didn't care. And I guess this became one of her favorite things to do. Have the babysitter come over while her mother went out and then sit there and perhaps watch and eat all the things that she normally wasn't allowed to. She laughs at the size of this chicken breast, saying that it must have been, quote, well endowed, and that it's a, quote, D-cup chicken. She has 2 pieces, although she hid one relatively well. And she closes out by saying, she didn't feel like doing much to record this, just barely able to cover herself. She tells people, as I mentioned, to go watch her exercise vlog, which was basically her talking for 9 minutes, showing sweat on her face, and then 2 random shots of the treadmill. I wanted to end this, though, a little differently, Chantal. I went back in my own archive. I went back and looked at videos I had made really right around the time you got to Kuwait. And I thought to myself, when looking at images from that time frame, do I see someone that's generally made positive changes, positive progress? And I don't just mean with you. You can easily look at Salah and say the same things. I get that your thought process was maybe if I get away from all the bad things in Kuwait, all the vices, all the people, all the problems, that in a different world, in a different land, things will be completely different. Right? If we isolate Chantal, it's not a hard decision to think about making and assuming that it would be a positive one. But when we look at what's happened since we've gotten to Kuwait, there's been a not even so steady downfall. We've seen initially her views start to pull back. The content that she wanted to make in terms of the couple and the travel channels, non existent. From there, we've seen her diet become increasingly dependent on takeout and fast food. And then recently, we've seen when she gets in the car, all she does is drive a kind of static circle around where she lives, either goes to McDonald's or Starbucks, but ultimately gets whatever it is that she wants to eat. It's instant gratification for her. And I mentioned a couple videos ago, if that's what you're seeking, that comfort, the comfort foods that she talks about, you have to work really hard to replace that comfort, that feeling, with the euphoric feeling you get when working out. And you have to want to replace those urges to eat with urges to go get on the treadmill or suppress them altogether. And Chantal has shown that she would rather give in to that comfort, give in to those positive feelings. And I don't think she's ever going to be in a position, unless she does seek true professional help, to put herself in a place where she's going to be successful. I mean, we can sit here, and I know a lot of people do, and make a joke of all these cycles. Because in many ways, Chantal makes a joke of them herself. That's why on day one, we're eating fried or broasted chicken. But at the end of the day, the human body can only endure so much. The mental fatigue, if she truly is thinking this is going to be the time where everything changes, Salah's frustrations with seeing her go through these cycles, ultimately, I don't think anyone just continues to live this way. There's a physical, there's an emotional, there's a mental toll that needs to be paid. And trust me, whether we see it or not, it's being paid. I know a lot of people joke, oh, the ERB is coming up. You look at how this person lives their life and you ask yourself, how could she not have been here sooner? I mean, remember not too long ago when she was saying that she couldn't get out of the wheelchair because of the sciatica and how all she needed was one more chance. When she get back to Canada and she ended up in the air, all she needed was one more opportunity. And that was going to be the time she was going to treat her body like a temple, stop doing all these things. And yet we see more and more often she starts these cycles and ends them almost consecutive days. In this case, possibly even on the same day. If you go back to the initial vlog that she had today, you could truly make a case that the first 3 meals that she had shown would have been sufficient for someone to eat the whole day. And you don't have to have the ultra cheap Kuwait takeout chicken meal that you desire so much because, you know, today it's 12 pieces for the price of 8. But that's just justifying her getting what she wants, which is the way it's always going to be until it can be that way no longer. Love to know your thoughts on this. I'm going to leave you with the top comments from the last video, and I'll be back as soon as I can with more commentary.